Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So the second text is from Al-Ash'ari, a vindication of the science of Kalam. And in that passage, Al-Ash'ari tries to justify Kalam, the field of Kalam. So he's replying against an accusation. The accusation is that Kalam is deviant. So first let's define what Kalam is. Kalam could be assimilated to a type of philosophy which involves debating matters of al-ghayb, of the unseen, about which the Prophet ﷺ nor the companions were explicit about, like motion, rest, how to combine, if it's possible, to combine opposites. So these questions, subhanAllah, I realize that these questions are inherently Greek in origin. The accusation against Kalam is to say that because the Prophet ﷺ was not explicit about it, and the Prophet came to complete the religion, why should you bother with something new? If the Prophet didn't talk about it, if the companion didn't, radiallahu anhum, didn't talk about it, you shouldn't either. So here Al-Ash'ari proposes three arguments. The first of which, if I may paraphrase, is to say that you cannot make something haram if the Prophet himself didn't make it haram. So you cannot say it's forbidden to delve into Kalam if the Prophet didn't say so. So the second argument from Al-Ash'ari is to say that the Prophet might not have been explicit about these topics, but you can see implicit descriptions of these topics in the Qur'an and the Sunnah. He gives a few examples, one of which is about contraries, the claim that contraries cannot combine. For example, he says, life is wet and hot, while death is cold and dry. So how could you ever have life from dry bone after death? In a passage of the Qur'an that can be taken as an indirect response to that question is when Allah says that He can bring fire out of the green tree. Green tree is alive, fire can be linked to death, hot and dry. So how can you bring these two opposites together? And Allah tells you it's Him who can do it. If He can do that, He can do something else. If He can bring fire from the green tree, He can also bring life back from the dead body. And here, subhanAllah, I always wonder when I read this ayat, what does Allah means by that? Because it's not directly the green tree that burns. It needs to go through a process. But then maybe that's the answer. You bring life back from the dead through a certain process. The third argument that Ash'ari puts forward to justify Kalam is to say that, okay, if someone come and ask you these questions, what do? Do you stay silent? Or do you give an explanation? Do you try to justify religion? So he uses that problematic to say that you need Kalam to respond to these emerging questions, regardless where they are coming from. Yes, they might not have been present at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, but they are now present in society. So you have to address them. It's a problem. You have to address it. You cannot just ignore it. That's basically the third argument. Now, overall, in this text, what I find amazing here and quite revealing is that the question that Ash'ari asked within that field of Kalam, again, are of Greek origin, I would believe. So it's like if he's taking glasses, of Greek philosophy, Greek framework, and he reads the Qur'an through them. The same way I would put my modern scientific lenses and read the Qur'an through them. It will bring new questions, it will bring new interpretations. Subhanallah. So I take what Ash'ari does as an indication that yes, I'm allowed to do this, to take my modern scientific lenses and read the Qur'an. And true, maybe the Prophet ﷺ never dealt with these scientific questions, but I can see that the Qur'an echoes these modern concepts. And to see a resonance between the Qur'an, which is 1400 years old, and modern scientific concepts is quite fascinating. Wallahu a'lam. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.